Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Today is January the 12th of 2021. Hooray. I was never so glad to see a year ago in my whole life, but 2020 is going to be missed by nobody. It's 9 a.m. We're here in the Century Jury Room of the Hood County Justice Center at 1200 West Pearl Street in Granbury, Texas. Today we are pleased again that we have Dr. Bill Miller here of the Hood County Pastor Council that has brought with us the illustrious Pastor Glenn Ward, who's the #1 Baptist in Hood County. That's what I've been told, and that's what I'm saying. So he's the head Baptist, and he's going to start off 2021 with our invocation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this new year and for the privilege of serving you. I thank you for our officials, and I pray your blessings upon them. I pray for your wisdom and for discernment, that they will be able to make the decisions that will both honor you and bless your people. Father, we pray especially for beginning here at home and to the ends of our nation. We know how President Lincoln quoted your words, that a kingdom divided cannot stand. And we need your healing power to bring us together, Lord, and to be who you want us to be. So we ask your blessings upon this Commissioner's Court and all of our elected officials. We just thank you, Lord, for the privilege of serving together, and we ask it all in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Now would you all join me for a pledge of allegiance to the flag? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Pastor. That was very, very inspiring, and I hope we start off with 2021 very strongly and safely for this year. If you have other business to conduct, being the #1 Baptist in Hood County, you are excused, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next, special presentations. I see we have none, Ms. Welburn. No special presentations. Okay. No service awards either. Okay. And that brings us to the citizens that wish to comment on any agenda item. If any citizen, public, wishes to voice their opinion on any public agenda item, the sheriff has some public participation forms. If you will fill them out, hand them back to the sheriff will give them to Ms. Lang, the county clerk. She will put them in order and hand them to me. It has a place here on the participation form as whether you are for or against an agenda. When there's more people than 5 or 6 that are going to speak on the agenda, we need to know which way you are so that we can divide up the appropriate time. So please do that. So with that, that brings us to the consent agenda. Does any of the commissioners wish to pull any item from the consent agenda? Commissioner Cotton? No. Commissioner Eagle? By the way, you see we got 2 vacancies here, and these are our 2 new commissioners, Commissioner Jack Wilson and Commissioner Kevin Andrews. They're not here today because they are required to be in school, and they've got to complete so many hours according to state law. So they would be here, they would love to be here, but they're in College Station right now getting real smart so they can come back here and sit on the court with us. They're both very fine gentlemen. we all look forward to working with them. We're going to also miss Commissioner Deaver and Commissioner White, who really have been good members of the court, too. So that does bring us down.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. I got carried away here. We got a motion to approve the consent agenda, second by Commissioner Eagle. So any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. This brings us down to development. We have no, Mr. Lenny, I'm disappointed in you again. No new items for road ops? You came close to having a mission this morning, though, didn't you? Okay, so I was talking about putting sand out on the bridges and stuff. But so we got Mr. Clint Head. What do you have, Mr. Head?
Morning, Judge. Morning, Commissioners. This first item, or first three items, they're all in the same precinct and all public hearing. If y'all don't mind, I'd run those together as one big public hearing and vote on them as one. Save some time.
Okay.
All right. We have a replat of, or is a subdividing of Lot 16, Block 1, Hermosa Hills Estates, creating a 2-acre lot called 16R1 and a 3.55-acre lot called 16R2. The property is located in the rural district in Precinct 2 and served by well and on-site sewage. As required, we mailed letters concerning the subdividing of this lot to all the property owners. Out of 16 letters, we had one returned saying that they were against it. All right, and I go down to the staff has reviewed the replat, recommends approval. And then the replat of the landings, lots 3196, 3197, is the creating of a 1.678 acre lot called 3196R. The property is located in water quality in Precinct 2 and is served by AMUD and on-site sewage. Staff has reviewed and recommends approval. The third replat is the combining of lots 13R2 and 14 in the orchards on the Brazos, creating a 3.241 acre lot called Lot 14R. It's in the water quality district and served by water and on-site sewage. Staff recommends, has reviewed. All comments have been addressed for all three and recommends approval as presented.
Okay, we're going to, the Commissioners Court's now going to convene into the public hearing to consider approval of these replats. I don't think we have any public participation on here. Does either of the commissioners here like to make a motion or ask any questions of Mr. Head? You good? Okay. Okay. All right, we're going to reconvene back into Commissioners Court. Now, do I hear a motion?
Yeah, Judge, I'll make the motion to approve the following replats: Hermosa Hills Estates, lots 16R1, 16R2, Block 1. Also, the landings, Lot 3196R. And the last one, the orchards on the Brazos, Lot 14R.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Cotton to approve the replats as stated, second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Okay. Item number 2A, development would like to request the court table this public hearing for the concept plan until the January 26, 2021 court.
I'll make the motion to table item 2 under the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Cotton to table item number 2 under development, second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Item number 3A, we have a public hearing to discuss and consider the site development plan for Rustic Ranch RV Camp, which includes improving the on-site sewage facility, treatment facility permit. The property is located at 2515 Williamson Road and will be on lots 31, 32, 33, 35 of Hunterwood, a subdivision in Hood County, Texas. The site development plan is located in the rural district and was served by Aqua Texas Water and on-site sewage facilities. The proposed site development plan proposes to have 15 recreational vehicle spaces. Aqua Texas has provided a letter saying they conserve the number of spaces as shown on the site development plan. There are no variances associated with this site development plan. All comments have been addressed. Staff recommends approval as presented.
Okay, we're going to convene again into public hearing from Commissioners Court. Do either of the commissioners have any discussion regarding the approval of the site development plan at Rustic Ranch?
Just for clarity, there were some asking for some variances, but I understand the owner worked it out with the development to agree to your comments that you had made when they proposed the development plan and have agreed and
Yes, sir.
addressed all of your issues. Isn't that correct?
They made the changes to the entrances and the widths of the road.
Yeah. Okay.
Further discussion? Okay, with that, we're going to reconvene back into Commissioners Court. Do I hear a motion regarding the Rustic Ranch?
Judge, I'll make motion to approve the following site development plan, Rustic Ranch RV Camp.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Cotton to approve the site development plan at Rustic Ranch RV Camp, second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in agreement, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion again carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Head. Financial, Ms. Becky Kidd.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. For this court, you've all received a packet of information regarding invoices that our department has reviewed. And if you have any questions on the ones over $10,000, you also have a spreadsheet on that. I'll be happy to answer any questions. But we have reviewed all these invoices and recommend payment of $364,991.38.
Okay. Anybody have any questions of Ms. Kidd here? You've checked and rechecked these, haven't you?
Just like Santa.
Just like National Enquirer, right?
That's
Checked and
right.
rechecked and
Yes, sir.
checked again. Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I move, pay the bills.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Eagle to pay the bills from December 17, 2020 through January 6, 2021.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cotton. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank you,
Kidd.
gentlemen.
Okay, this brings us down to miscellaneous. The first item on miscellaneous is to discuss and take appropriate action to adopt a standing order as to who presides over Commissioners Court when the county judge is not present. In these tricky times here, I guess we need to do that. We never had to worry about that before because it's based upon tenure, and Commissioner Deaver was by far the senior member of the Commissioners Court. So if I were not present for whatever reason, Commissioner Deaver conducted the meeting. But since the seniority is equal between Commissioner Cotton and Commissioner Eagle, one of them has to decide, and it was brought to my attention that we needed to have this. So I would like to say also that this would fill in, maybe from now on, the rest of our tenure, or we've got two new commissioners that come in. If they don't like it and they want to voice it, we could have another election. I always like for all the commissioners to be present, but I was told that it would be best if we had a pro tem in place right now to handle, so to go forward. So, having said that, do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion that we table this till we have a full court. And the reason for my motion is that we don't have a full court. I'm looking at a email that our county attorney received from legal counsel down in Austin, who said there's really no clear-cut direction on this. I feel like it's premature to do this today. If something happened, heaven forbid, that where the judge could not attend the next meeting, we can always propose and elect somebody on that day. So I'm going to make a motion that we table this till the next court.
Matt Mills, did you hear what I said about it, and you heard what Dave said about it on the deal? There's no clear-cut deal, but what I'm saying is that if the two new commissioners come back and decide that they want to elect or want to have a vote on it, we can take another vote at the next Commissioners Court meeting, can we not?
Sure, if that's the way you want to go. You could go either way. I mean, you could vote to table it, or you could vote now, and if you vote now and then they don't like it, then they could vote another direction, put it back on the agenda, and go the other way next time. So I think all of those would be fine.
Okay, and I'm not trying to usurp it, it certainly doesn't concern me, but I'm saying here with COVID or something, we may have to have a specially called meeting too. That is also possible.
Right.
Something may come up. So it's better to, I think, have a pro tem in place just in the event that something happens. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, he's called for a motion to table it. Do I hear a second on the motion to table?
Speaker, somebody wants to speak on it.
I don't have it. That's what it said on 3. Oh, he just added the 1. You had 3 initially when you came up here. Now you want to speak on 1. I didn't see that. Okay. Okay. All right. Mr. Biggers.
Well,
Well, he's.
oh, okay, sure. Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good, happy New Year, Court. I'm glad to see you guys. I think we're tracking the same thing what Dave's saying. Why don't we do it this way? Out of respect of Mr. Andrews and Mr. Wilson, who fought a long, hard battle to get in these chairs, and everybody knew that they had to go do their schooling, out of respect of these two gentlemen and the precincts that they represent, try not to circumvent. I understand your personal feelings about it, Judge, and nobody wants anybody to be a statistic and not be able to be in court for any reason whatsoever, but we need to respect these two men because they're not here. If you have to do it temporarily, do it this way. Why say, well, you can come back and vote later if you want to. If you're going to do this today, do this and say it's 10 days, or it's 5 days, or whenever they're back. So whenever they're back, change it to where you revote this thing and readdress it. They should have input on this. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. That's the only one I have? Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Anybody have anything to say? So we have a motion on the table to table it. Do I hear a second? Okay, motion fails for lack of a second. Now, do I hear another motion for who should be a pro tem among the two commissioners that are here? You
Want me to make the motion?
Somebody, either
I'll
somebody.
make the motion if we're stalled. I'll make the motion that I would accept, if so elected, to serve as the pro tem.
I second it. Okay. So we got a motion that Ron Cotton be the judge pro tem in the event I can't be present. Judge Massengill has seconded the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Motion carries 2-1. Like I've said up here, when Commissioner Andrews and Commissioner Wilson get back, they don't like that. It would have to be either Commissioner Cotton or Commissioner Eagle to be the mayor pro tem. If they want another election, it will be put on the docket, and that'd be one of the first things that we'll discuss in 2 weeks at the regular Commissioners Court meeting. Okay. So that brings us to item number 2, discuss and take appropriate action to approve a deputy clerk in the county clerk's office, move from a CS36 to a CS37, effective the date of hire of Tuesday, December the 29th of 2020. Do I hear a motion? Well, let me let me tell you this. I was really big on making sure that every clerk in this county got a decent wage. I mean, I've worked with everybody when I first came up here. There were wages that were so low that
Yes,
it was
sir.
like $23,000 a year or something like that, and I tried very, very hard to make sure that every employee that was working in the office, Katie's office or Tona's office, whatever, everybody would be making at least $30,000 plus our benefits, and we worked really hard on that to make that happen. And we got close to where we got $29,600 and some odd dollars on the deal. So I want to say that I am definitely in favor of this, and I move that we allow Katie to, or the county clerk, to move the CS 36 to a CS 37 with the date of hire to December the 29th of 2020. Do I hear a second? Oh, you second it? Okay, second by Commissioner Eagle. You don't even have to speak on that. That's, how about that? Is that good?
Thank you, Court, appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 3-0. All right, next, discuss and take appropriate action for the purchase of a 2005 Pierce Lance Mobile Public Safety Command Center for Hood County, Texas, previously owned by the FBI. Purchase price of $195,000. We have our first speaker here, Mr. Jeff Young, the Fire Marshal for Hood County. Yes, sir.
I'm here to answer any questions. I believe I emailed everybody out the packet that I have here that you have available to you. This one has the complete series of pictures that they sent. So the first one just had kind of the rough idea. The second part of it was the work that I did looking for comps yesterday. There's not really any comps available. I did talk to Russell Mabra, who's the representative for Siddons Martin. They do the local representation for Pierce fire trucks. In that page, I asked him what it would cost to get something comparable, and he said you'd be looking at $800,000 to $1 million plus to build something comparable to this.
Okay. Well, I've seen all of this. Would you explain to the public your position as being the fire chief as to why Hood County needs this, in your opinion?
So a vehicle like this is going to be designed to have a command staff present at any incident that's longer than 6 hours. We've had some law enforcement calls where they've been asked to stay and watch a scene overnight because of the evidence or whatever's going on. We've had people that sit in Tahoes overnight waiting for the next crew to come along. So it's kind of a comfort thing for them to be able to have a workspace to be in. One of the largest, on any of the hot wash meetings that we've had after actions for large events, normally the biggest complaint is the lack of direction or information coming from the scene back to the EOC. And a lot of that's because I'll use the tornado that we had in Rancho Brazos as an example. The guy that was running incident command was doing it from the front seat of a pickup. And so all the responding firefighters, first responders, he had one line of people standing at the driver's door and another line of people standing at the passenger door. And he was not able to compile all the information in an efficient manner to be able to relay that information back to the EOC. So this basically is the EOC just on wheels. So they would have the ability to have a staff there to coordinate and disseminate that information in a timely, effective manner.
So you're recommending, you're saying this is a good deal for the county?
Yes, sir. And I would like to urge anybody who's listening to understand this is not a fire marshal vehicle. This is not an emergency management vehicle. This isn't a sheriff's office vehicle. This is an apparatus or an asset that would be multifaceted. It would be available to any agency or public events or anything that needs a command staff or somebody there to be able to have eyes on and communication.
Okay. So you're recommending that the county purchase this, and it's a good
Yes, sir.
deal?
So what we have now, our incident command trailer that we currently have is basically on loan from the Forest Service. We got it on a grant years ago. It was before my time, but they still come out and inventory it every year. And the last time he was here, I asked him why that is. He said, well, the Forest Service still owns it. It's just basically on loan. So we don't even own the vehicle. And what it is, it's a weekend camper that has 2 radios installed. There's like one little kitchenette area where you can sit 4 people if they're really close and like each other. But there's not really an effective workstation in this trailer now. It's just basically shelter to get out of the rain.
Okay.
I noticed this is a 2005 model. Has anybody looked at it, or do we know what kind of shape it's in? I know I've got a whole packet of pictures and all that, but I'm just wondering, say that's 15, 16 years old? What
Yes, sir.
kind of condition is it?
So I actually did some work yesterday in talking to the Pierce representative. He went so far as we were able to get the job code. I think it's the first picture in there. It's the yellow tag. I was able to get the job code off of the vehicle itself, in which he was able to tell me the history of the vehicle. It was built for the FBI as an FBI trainer. So that's the reason why it has low miles and low hours. It's sat on their campus. They bring them in there. They run scenarios in it. Then they shut it off. They don't drive it around a whole lot. He went so far as to call the service center in Salt Lake and has said that they've been very religious about doing their annual maintenance, keeping it up to date. He said the only issue that they've had with that truck is it's got a camera mast on the back. They had to replace the air pump in that because it went out, and that's the only major work they've had to do to that vehicle.
Where's it located now?
Right now, it's in Georgia.
Okay. I also understand that they're holding it. It's up for sale. What you've told
Yes,
me
sir.
when you talked to me, and they've agreed to hold on to this for how long for us to make a decision?
He's going to hold it to me for the end of the day today. Because when I was talking to him, I said, look, I don't want to go through all this effort and jump through all these hoops if I call you next week after court and find out it's already been sold. Yeah. He says, well, if it helps you, I'll put a hold on it until the end of this day, and then you can call back and let us know.
Gotcha.
So he did say he's had other people call and ask about it, and other people that are interested. So there are other people in the market.
I also found out that initially when I read it, that it said that it had over 7,000 hours on some engine, or was it the engine or some other component in there, and then found out that that was a mistake and it only had 700 hours.
Yes, sir. When they listed the engine hours, they listed it as 7,675. And he said they actually misread it and misplaced the decimal point in the listing. It's 767.5 hours. And it's got a little over 25,000 miles on it.
I see the pictures of Jeff, where are you going to keep this thing? If we purchase it, how will you store it? Where will you keep it?
So in the meantime, I've got one spot over in Road Ops that's covered parking where the trailer is stored now. If we proceed with this, I'm going to call the Forest Service and return their trailer to them, and I will keep this in that spot.
So you have it undercover from?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It'll be undercover.
Yeah.
I think when I was doing a tour of the fire trucks up here with Greg up here, he told me that the Pierce, in his opinion, was a Rolls Royce of the fire trucks. Is that the same people that make fire trucks that have made
Yes,
this
sir.
truck?
So this is basically a fire truck chassis with a command module on the back instead of a pump and tank.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have any further questions of?
I got it. I don't have any questions. But I do have something to say about this. First of all, once again, I think we should wait till we have a full court to, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't look into something like this. Don't get me wrong. But I think we should wait till we have a full commissioner's court to make a decision on a purchase of $200,000. This is a proposed purchase of more than $50,000 which must comply with the competitive bidding statute, and unless there's a valid exemption, and this is not in the budget at this time. So those are my 3 reasons that I think we should wait, and I'm going to go through and talk about the government code 262.001 at SEEK, local government code 262.023 subsection A. Before a county may purchase one or more items under a contract that will require an expenditure exceeding $50,000, the Commissioners Court must comply with the competitive bidding or competitive proposal procedures prescribed by this chapter. Now, there are some discretionary exemptions, but the issue is that this is an item that I think we should put out for bid. I think it should go to the competitive bidding process. I don't see any exemption that this would fall under. The only emergency I'm hearing is that you got to buy it by the end of the day or we don't get to get it. I don't think that qualifies as an emergency. And I'm not against doing this, but I think we should include the entire court on an expenditure that's almost a half a cent tax. So there are penalties if we violate the Texas Procurement Act, because it's potential that we could be doing that if we buy this today or okay this. If it's an intentional violation of the act, it can be a Class B or a Class C misdemeanor. If it's a non-intentional violation of the act, we can be sued by the taxpayers to void the transaction. I'm not sure that we want to put ourselves in a position to have a taxpayer file a lawsuit to enjoin this purchase if it is found that we violated the Public Procurement Act. Plus, there's a duty on the county auditor to make sure we are complying with the County Purchasing Act. Texas Local Government Code 113.065 says that the auditor is prohibited from approving a claim for payment if the County Purchasing Act is violated. So for all the above reasons, I would request that I would make a motion that we table this till we go through with or comply with the Purchasing Act, because I don't want us to get in trouble. And I'm mindful of what you guys need, but the need may go beyond our ability to do that today, in my opinion. So if the rest of the court decides that we need such an item when we all reconvene, then I think we should go through the bidding process. So I'm going to make a motion to table it.
So if I can address
Yes,
those couple of things,
please.
if I may.
And I'm going to call on you, Glenn, to do that.
I was too. But before we even asked to have this put on the agenda, we went around and spoke with each of the commissioners to even find out if this was a good idea in the first place. Commissioner, and I don't want to put any words in anybody's mouth, but Commissioner Wilson's concern was he didn't want us to get something and have it sit around not be in use. So I assured him that in the condition of this vehicle now, if I get back with it on Thursday at 1 o'clock, it'll be deployable at 2. And Commissioner Andrews expressed that he thought it was a good idea as well, but, you know, again, I don't want to put words in their mouth. So, and we did address the issue with the purchasing thing yesterday, because that was the reason why I was looking for comps. I don't know that for this particular vehicle, we would be able to get comparable bids because there are no other vehicles. In fact, when I asked the two representatives yesterday, one from Siddons Martin and the other from Daco Fire, for comps on this type of vehicle, they both within a couple of hours sent me this picture of this very vehicle and said this is the only one that they could find. So not that I want to run out and buy anything on a whim, but if we don't get this one, I don't think we're going to find anything comparable. In this packet, there is a trailer. in there that would require also the purchase of an 18-wheeler tractor. The trailer is almost $600,000, and it has nothing in it. I got another one that is basically a van that is $199,000. And it's a van with seating for 3. So on that, Glenn?
Yes. Judge, Commissioners, the purchasing department and auditing department believe this to be a legal purchase by way of Texas Local Government Code 262024, which, as Commissioner Eagle mentioned, allows the court to have discretionary exemptions from competitive bidding for the reason of public health and safety. And the Hood County Commissioners Court used this exemption once before, at least once before that we know of, in 2019 when it purchased a used fire truck for Pecan Plantation, I believe. But that is the code that we are going by in this purchase.
So if I may, 262.024 subsection 2 is what you're referring to, discretionary exemptions, and it states an item necessary to preserve and protect the public health and safety of the residents of the county. Well, what does necessary mean? I looked it up. Webster's Dictionary says essential, required, absolutely needed. Oxford Dictionary, essential. So the question posed by that exemption, or by asserting that exemption, is whether this item, which item is defined, and this truck would fall under item, is necessary to preserve and protect the public health and safety of the residents of this county. So there is some case law out there on this, and my contention is that it's not necessary today. I'm not arguing that we can look at this with a full court. I'm not, and I appreciate what Mr. Young has stated about the other two commissioners. I know that Mr. Young spoke with me, and I indicated to him that I would like to wait till we had a full court to look at this. And so I was somewhat surprised when I saw it come up on the agenda. But whatever the case, I think it's a stretch to put this item under this exemption, in my opinion. So again, I'm going to make a motion to table this.
I'd like to hear from our legal counsel. I know he doesn't want to speak on it, but Matt, what have you got? What do you got to say about that issue of whether or not legally we can do this or not?
Well, I wish I would have looked into it more. I think this was raised right around Friday, and I called Becky. I didn't even know that Glenn was purchasing agent. That memo missed me. But I just said, hey, Becky, just make sure we're square on this. And she said, okay, I'll get with Glenn. And then I didn't really hear much talk yesterday or anybody really putting it to me yesterday. So I didn't really come as prepared as I'd like. But, I mean, to your point, Dave, what's been cited is a tornado that was 7-8 years ago. Well, we knew about that last budget session and the budget session before that and the budget session before that. Now, mid-budget session, it's like, oh, it's a dire need. I don't know. I mean, when we wrecked a fire truck, we were down a fire truck. I mean, that arguably is a different situation than something that pops up and we're going to do it midstream that we hadn't really budgeted for. So I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look at that, and I haven't really dug into it. I just kind of told Becky last week, hey, make sure we're good, and I don't know. Nobody really told me to dig in too deep. So that's just kind of my knee-jerk thought about.
Sorry, man.
Yeah.
We have auditors here. We can up to our own policy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not trying to criticize y'all or anything. I mean, that was where it was. So I'm a little concerned.
Why we use this same logic. I've got the item in front of me that we made the motion and approved back in 2019 under exemption LGC 262.024A, discretionary expenditures for a $325,000 fire truck.
Right.
So we set a precedent there, and did we do that illegally? We did it once.
Right.
And we proved that we could use this code, so.
Yeah.
I guess it comes down to, is this one an emergent, does it need it or not? And I guess that's opinion, isn't it?
Right, I mean, it is, and if I remember correctly, again, we wrecked a fire truck, so Pecan's most expensive fire truck was gone, and we needed a new one, and I think we had insurance to pay for it, so it wasn't like we found 300 grand of new money that wasn't budgeted, I think, right? We had insurance, and so we paid with the insurance money for it to get us back up to just par of where we were. So, I mean, the argument is that this is not bringing us back up to par from something we just lost. It's a new purchase of something that theoretically could have been debated in the last budget or whenever. I mean, that's the argument, so.
Yeah, the vehicle probably wasn't available at the time.
Right, yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that this kind of came up because we had an opportunity that came up, but the question is whether it becomes a necessity if there's an opportunity. I guess that's how to frame it. I don't know. I mean, I wish I would have studied it more. I just kind of, nobody really told me before court to bone up on it too much, so now here I am midstream.
Yeah, I wish we had an agreement to hold this vehicle for another 3 weeks or a month so we could decide too.
Yeah.
But we don't right now today. Why, I don't know, but that's what we know, is that it's being held today, could be gone tomorrow, might not be. You want to gamble with that? That's, I guess, kind of the court, and you tell us, somebody advises that, it'll still be there, and let's wait for the full court to come back, and then we can do it. I got a funny feeling that the court would be in favor of it, but I can't speak for them because I haven't talked to them. But from what I've talked from Jeff, anyway, that sounded like that he had canvassed, which he has a right to do, but they're not here to help us make the decision. And I think it would be unfortunate if we lost this thing, because it looks to me like what I'm hearing from emergency management, from you, from the sheriff's office, that it is something that would be a great asset for the county.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to do anything illegally, though.
I've looked at it too here, and it was the motion that was made back in August with the previous court, but Commissioner Eagle and Commissioner Cotton being present. A motion was made by Commissioner Cotton to approve the request of Purchasing Department to exempt from competitive formal bidding the purchase of a used 2006 Pierce dash pumper tanker fire truck from the fire line equipment and authorizing the exemption under the local government code 262 and the discretionary exemptions, an item necessary to preserve or protect. And it was seconded by Commissioner Eagle. So the precedent is here. So I've got what I consider to be an expert as far as what the county needs in times of emergency. We're talking about a tornado. We're talking about wildfires. We're talking about whatever catastrophe can have, that the need of this command bus, and you're telling me that it is unnecessary to protect the people. What we have is a trailer that doesn't even belong to us now. And I'd like to hear from also Jay Webster, who has worked with the Department of Public Safety for over 30 years, working hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, explosions, and tell me what you think, in your opinion, based upon, is there a need to buy this truck also?
So I can tell you that in all of the experiences I've had, whenever we've been able to put a unified command together inside a vehicle, decisions and information flows a whole lot better back to those people that need that information when you're all working together on scene at a command post, versus trying to do it from one vehicle to another vehicle to another vehicle. And talking to Drew and all of them, we plan on setting this vehicle up as a second EOC to where any of you as a commissioner or the judge can show up to that command truck and it will function and operate just like you were sitting in a building. So if we did lose the building, or we did lose the backup to our IT, then you would have a third or fourth IT within this truck that would do that. So it's a multifunctional unit that makes you operate, or allows you to operate in a capacity that we can't do right now. I could be using it for the testing that we're doing. I could be using it for what we're working on towards the vaccines that we're working on trying to get. We could have used it at the couple of fires that we've had in Crescent here recently, the explosions that we've had. We could have used it on scene at the drowning that took 3 days to recover that body. The sheriff's office could have used it for some of the standoffs that they've had, to have where that command structure is sitting inside, having the ability to look at each other and make decisions soundly.
So you're for purchasing it?
It would be a great asset, so yes, sir, I mean, I am.
Okay.
Well, I just want to point out, since the judge brought it up, and I appreciate him going back and looking at who seconded the motion on the fire truck, that I think that this, at least it illustrates that I understand the difference between a fire truck and a mobile command unit that's going to sit up under a shed who knows how long. We had that. When was that Crescent fire?
Yeah, we had one
No,
about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
The big Crescent fire of the plant over there.
The Tricam plant?
Yes,
that
sir.
was, what, 2 years ago?
So that arguably could have called for the unit. The bottom line is that I am certainly mindful of what you guys need. I don't think this is the proper time to do it. I think using my seconding a motion on replacing a fire truck is a little bit beyond the pale, but that's my opinion. But I still got a motion on the table to table this till the next session.
And we have a right to discuss it. We're going to finish discussing it, Mr. Eagle, and then we're going to vote after we have the discussion of whether we should table it or not, or whether I'll call a vote on it. So, since you mentioned something, I'd like to call Drew up and get his take on this thing about, you had mentioned, and you and I had discussed very briefly to what Chief Young had raised about being able to outfit a mobile command unit like this, that in the event that something would destroy a tornado or a fire or something would destroy EOC or the Sheriff's Department, that, and where your department is located, the EOC, that this command unit could have servers installed that could run the county, keep the county running. Is that correct?
That is correct. I was brought in last week with that very reason of what, could we use this as a true rolling EOC? And absolutely, it's already outfitted for the most part. We would just have to put in some equipment to, I guess, in case of the EOC actually getting taken out by some natural disaster, fire, et cetera, that we could actually spin up a data center and operate out of it. Absolutely.
Okay. Just like a fire truck, nobody hopes that a fire truck ever gets called out. I'd rather for a fire truck never get called out, but you need it there just in the event of something. To have something like this service center is something that you really do need as well. Okay.
Well, everybody's given opinions. I mean, we've all got opinions. I've got one. My opinion is I think we're risking losing this thing if we don't act on it. I really believe the total court, it's what I believe, it's my opinion, if they were here, we'd pass it. It's what I think. Not because I talked to them, but I think from what you've shown the court, and there is a risk, unless somebody tells me there's not, that we might not get it at all, and there's not another one out there like it. Then we're going to be out if you really wanted one, it'd be $325,000. I think we have the opportunity to do it. I heard that the money is there to purchase it, not in the budget, but the money is there. I guess I can say, using the CARES Act money that we have from the CARES Act, that we need to spend or lose it. I mean, we've already got it in the bank. And no, it's not going to cost the taxpayers more money because we don't use it. It goes back to the state, and you pay the taxes anyway. So that argument of not being in the budget, I think, is moot. The real argument is the risk of losing such a vehicle that the county is telling us that would be a piece of equipment that would be a great asset to the county for protecting the citizens. And if you're afraid of a lawsuit, we never get anything done. So if we get sued for using this discretionary bidding under LGC 2602, so we get sued. If we didn't do anything because we're afraid of getting sued, we'd never get anything done. So that's an opinion, and that's all I got to say.
Mr. Biggers, you wanted to speak on this as well.
Hang around, you would? Yes, I don't mind. I'm going to harken back to my original argument. You guys need to wait for the other two commissioners to get here. This is wrong. It's totally disrespectful for these guys. This is a big, permanent expenditure that you're talking about doing, and you want to spend this money, and they have no input. I appreciate you reaching out to them. I really do. And probably they would go for it. I know these guys. But it needs to go on record with them. Secondly, this is just a high-priced RV on steroids. And I need to ask you, over the course of how many disasters your trailer's been used in the last 5 years?
Part of the reason the trailer doesn't get utilized more is because it's not equipped to effectively do what we need it to do.
Okay, how many events in the last 5 years that you could have used something like this?
There would be several. We could have used it probably half a dozen times already in the last 3 months.
In the last 3 months?
Yes, sir.
I missed those big events. So anyway, once again, you're wanting to spend all this money, this CARES Act money, the $2.5 million man sitting back over here that got you your money, and you guys are doing it, and it smacks of a used car dealer. We got to buy it today, and today only, because we're going to lose it. And, the streaming people are watching out here, folks. You guys have to understand that over this last year, we don't have a real good taste in our mouth with county government. And our Bible tells us to pray for you guys, but you've made it really, really hard last year, and you're not kicking the year off good now. I say table it, find something you need afterwards when Andrews and Wilson are here, and at least get their input on the whole deal. I appreciate your efforts. I have no doubt that the county needs something like this. Makes it more centrally located. But buy now, or you're going to lose it today. That doesn't smack well, and the people out there are not going to smack well with them.
Mr. Biggers, I'm going to be the first one when Jack Wilson comes back and when Kevin Andrews comes back and at the next Commissioners Court meeting to ask them their opinion about whether or not we should have bought it when they say that we have until today to buy it or not buy it. You bet I would like to have Jack Wilson and Kevin Andrews here. I really would. But I don't want to take the chance of losing it. But you're going to get the chance to ask them, and I want them to speak from their heart to find out how they would vote. And we're going to get to see whether or not we have disrespected those two gentlemen, because they are both friends of mine. I respect them both very much, and I would never disrespect them, just like I wouldn't disrespect you or any other resident of Hood County. So I don't appreciate you're telling me that if we vote on it, that we are disrespecting Jack Wilson and Kevin Andrews, because I don't see it that way at all.
That's the problem, Judge.
I listen to you, sir, without interrupting you. Would you give me the same courtesy?
Go ahead, sorry.
Well, thank you. And when we have the gentleman here, the purchasing department, the audit department, Chief Young, Jay Webster, all looking at this thing, saying that we either have to get the purchase of this mobile unit today or we will lose it, and it's either now. So we either have the difficult position of saying, fine, we want to buy it. If we buy it and we vote on it, and then Jack Wilson comes up here and says, boy, I wouldn't have voted on that. You really made a mistake. And Kevin Andrews comes up there and says, boy, you really made a mistake. I wouldn't have voted on it. But if they come back, Mr. Biggers, and they say, you know what? I would have voted, and I wish I was there and I could have voted. Are you going to still say we did something wrong, Mr.
Yep.
Biggers?
You're not only disrespecting them, you're disrespecting
Mr.
everybody in
Biggers,
their
are you still
precincts
gonna
so that
say
they
that we did
represent.
something wrong?
If they say that, yeah, I wish we would have got it, then let's start looking for one. Start looking for one. Let me tell you something,
That's
Judge.
the problem.
Let me tell you.
You
Whoa,
can't
whoa,
get one. This is a unique deal.
Okay, I've sat here and listened to you say we are a city and a county and a state and a country of laws. You have said that multiple times over this last year, Judge. We are a county of laws. Dave Eagle just read the law. You will be breaking the law if you spend this money. And I, as a citizen of this county, will step out that door and I will file the lawsuit. It's got to stop. This has got to stop. This disrespectful of the citizens and the dollars and everything else, it's got to stop. You spend this money breaking that law that you say we're a citizen or county of laws and a country of laws, it's got to stop. And I will file the lawsuit.
Thank you, Mr. Biggers. Let me ask you something. Mr. Matt Mills, do you think that by doing this, based upon what we're doing here of a command unit, based upon the uniqueness of this, the fact that we have a time limitation on here, that this Commissioners Court would be, in your opinion, as our county lawyer, violating a law, breaking a law?
Well, I wish I'd been told to really study this thing for today. I mean, I'm a little unprepared, but to me, you've got to check off the boxes of the necessary and all of that, whether it's a one-time deal or whether it's available in the future. I mean, we still have to feel safe knowing or feeling that it's this necessity and it fits the same exception that we used for the fire truck a year and a half ago. I mean, if you feel like it's the same basic thing as the fire truck, then, then that's how you can go. If you feel it's a different thing than the fire truck and unique, then you probably shouldn't. I mean, that's probably how I would frame it.
Oh, I got a question. It might be a ridiculous question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Does the county have buyer's remorse? We bought it, and then next week, the other court came back and said, "Nah, we don't like it." Could we get out of that purchase?
That's probably for purchasing or auditor, but I would think once you buy it, I would guess.
All right, that's the only public participation deals that I have up here. It's, you didn't fill out a public participation form.
I didn't, but if you don't mind,
Well, I've announced, you know what, huh?
I don't know, Judge. You either got to hold your ground or change the rules. That's my opinion.
You know, this is what I announced at the beginning of this deal, and so I think we're going to have to start out by doing it. I announced at the beginning that if any member of the public want to speak on any item, please fill out a public participation form, hand it to the sheriff. The sheriff will give it to the county clerk, and then it's marked in a sequential manner so we can address it. If you don't do that, I can't do it. So that's the rules that we have, and that's the rules that we're going to go ahead and enforce here. So, anybody, did you fill out a public participation?
I had a question on doing the form. So is it okay to come in and reserve the right to speak on any item in case there's things that come up that the person might
No.
want to speak on?
What did she say?
She wants to know if you can speak on any item that's not on the agenda.
No, no, no.
I may reserve the right to speak on every single item on the
Public participation says you can participate with any item on the agenda. So if you have an item you'd like to put on the thing, get with their commissioner and let them sponsor it, and it can maybe get on the agenda. That's how it happens. So that's that. Ma'am, this is out of order here. I'm sorry. My office is always open. Please come by and see me. Please see one of the other commissioners. That's the way you have to conduct these commissioner court hearings. Thank you. Okay, Becky Kidd, I would like for your information on here is to see if we are doing this correctly, have the money to pay for this.
We have the money, Judge. That's not an issue, but I would ask that you approve, regardless of what you decide to do on buying this mobile command center, the budget amendment that I handed out this morning. This needs to be done anyway. We have been waiting to see where we were in this money, and I believe we have collected all we will get. So that has to take precedent. That needs to be approved regardless of what you do. So I would ask at this point in time that you would approve the budget amendment that I gave you this morning. It is for Fund 101, and that is to get the budgets agreeable to the cash balance as it was yesterday.
You want to make that motion?
I guess we can do that because this comes under your financials.
It does, and it also pertains to this particular item. But again, regardless of what you do, we need this in place moving forward, and I was waiting until we had a good number.
So we need a motion then to increase budget 101, 3,400 CARES Act revenue to $2,015,357.64?
Yes, and the remainder of this is money on hand right now.
It's in.
So I object to that. It's not on the agenda. So I object to the amendment.
Again, it ties in with this item number 3.
Oh, number 3 here.
Yes.
Take appropriate action for the purchase of it, because that's how we would have to get the money.
Yes, it would come from Fund 101.
Okay. All right, well,
Well, let's wait and see if that, then I agree, let's wait and see if that amendment number 3 passes, we will include.
No,
Can't
sir.
do that?
You have to approve the line item transfer first.
Before you can even,
Yes, sir.
you're the auditor, you're telling us, I believe what the auditor's telling me, I don't know that.
you make the motion?
Yeah.
We approve the line item?
Yeah, move the line item change.
Okay, I second that motion to make the line item budget
Transfer.
amendment for the CARES money to go into Fund 101?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, any further discussion about that motion as part of number 3, to take appropriate action to be able to purchase the Pierce Mobile Command Unit? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
You said opposed?
Opposed, yes, sir.
Motion carries 2-1. Okay. Now that we've had that out of the way, where the CARES money is in Fund 101, now we have the motion that Mr. Eagles made to table this until the next Commissioners Court meeting. Do I hear a second?
And that's item 3.
Okay, and is that what your motion, that until?
The table item 3 until the next court.
I said it correctly, yes.
Yes, sir.
He's made the motion.
Okay.
Do I hear a second? Okay, motion fails for lack of a second. Okay. Do I hear a motion regarding the purchase of the 2005 Pierce Lane Mobile Public Command Unit?
Judge, I'll make a motion I'm going to make a motion to approve the purchase of a used 2005 Pierce Lance Mobile Command Center and corresponding line item transfer, we've already done, from the emergency management budget, and for the court to exempt the purchase from competitive formal bidding under LGC 262.024A, discretionary exemption A2, an item necessary to preserve or protect the public health or safety of the residents of the county.
I second the motion. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say motion.
Nay.
Okay. Motion carries 2-1.
Thank you, sir.
So, all right, that brings us next to item number 4. And item number 4 was, and I want to go ahead and explain this a little bit, was to take appropriate action on allowing Constable Dwayne Hart's weapon to be returned to him or purchased by him. It has nothing to do with Constable Dwayne Hart. He served here as a deputy sheriff and as a constable for a long time. It's just that the county attorney, Mr. Mills, said that his asking for it was past the statute of limitations regarding that, and the county does not have the authority to give or sell him the weapon. Is that correct, Mr. Mills?
Yes, it's been past 2 years since he retired, and the statute says the purchase has to be within the 2 years.
Yes.
Judge, could I throw something in?
Yes, but I just want to say this. I want no one, because everybody saw this public agenda that's been posted. I didn't want to think that for some reason that Dwayne Hart had done something or failed to do something that disqualified him. It's just a matter of time. It's just a statute limitation and a rule of law that we can't let him, the county can't give his weapons like we've done to the other people before him and like we're going to do, hopefully, for Constable Thrasher right here. So, yes, Mr. Eagle.
So I think I can figure out a way we can make this happen. My understanding is that Constable Shirley is currently carrying that firearm, and we need to be able to replace, if we're going to give that one to, arguably give that one to Mr. Thrasher, and this is no disrespect to the county attorney. In fact, I would ask you to come up here, Matt, if you would. I want to show you something. I would say if we could, can we budget $1,000 or something?
Absolutely.
So Becky says we can work something out for Constable Shirley, but I wanted you to take a look at the chapter that you cited, because I think we can do this, Judge.
I wanted to do it all along, but when I got Matt's memo, always wanting to follow the law, Mr. Biggers,
and this is nothing against our county attorney plea. I mean, this is just...
Well, he said we couldn't do it because of statute of limitations. I didn't bother to look it up. And this is, and you said Constable Thrasher, it's Constable Hart.
I'm sorry, yeah, Constable Hart.
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
Well, it seems like what you're floating is a different deal than what has been done multiple times in the past. I mean, I was here when we did, and it was somebody bought their weapon for $1 multiple times, right? Yep. In the last year. And so, and that was all under this provision where you can do it in the 2-year window.
Under that statute.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're throwing a different statute at me, and you're saying that perhaps the court could fund more or less fair market value for the weapon and not this $1 buyback from the retiree, right?
Well, maybe I'm misreading it, but the way I'm reading what I handed you was that the statute under which we're looking on the 2-year statute doesn't apply to this because of our population.
Well, and I guess the other area of confusion that maybe you can help me with, but the weapon that Dwayne Hart was going to buy back, is that the same weapon that John Shirley is carrying now?
I think so.
Okay.
My understanding, I'm just going to say it's my understanding that that's what he's carrying.
Okay. So the concern would be then John doesn't have.
Well, that's why I asked Becky if we had money. Mr. Shirley indicated to me that he would be happy to give it up if you just give him some money to replace it.
Okay, but then I mean, I understand that, but then you still have the buyback issue within the 2 years that, because this statute that you just gave to me, it says this subchapter applies only to a peace officer employed by the state or municipality or county and so on. So that sounds like actively employed, not retired. So I don't know.
I think we're two different looking at it.
Well, maybe. You know, in the vein of all your motions, maybe you table it to 2 weeks and then we'll figure out.
I like that.
I'm just needling you.
I think that's a good idea.
No, that's not a good idea.
I'm okay with that because, I mean, I think we can.
I'd like to
see him get it, and I'd like to see, I'm sure that Constable Shirley would rather have a new weapon rather than to use one anyway, and if we could do it, I'm all for that. So let's see if we can do it.
Judge, can I make a motion?
Table, I'll second the motion.
And I'll make sure that we know, I mean, we're squared away in 2 weeks. I mean, Fortunately, this is not like a massive urgency, hopefully. So we'll figure it out here in 2 weeks, and hopefully there's a way to do it.
I'm just trying to make everybody happy.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. You're doing great, Dave.
Of course you are. Hey, listen, and, you know, and we can't expect, we got to get Constable Shirley a weapon before he turns that one in
Sure.
anyway.
Right.
So weapons, I don't know what it is. It's probably, what is it, a Glock 40 that he carries? I wonder if they're available, if you can get one, and just see about it. But we'll table it for 2 weeks, and that way, hopefully, we can work around it and get, I'd like to see Constable Hart, who's also been a deputy sheriff, get his weapon.
Did someone move the table?
Yeah, so we're going to.
You did?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've seconded the motion.
Okay.
So all those in favor of tabling the motion concerning Constable Hart getting his weapon back, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Hey, 3-0. Tabling it. Okay, that brings us then to consider and take appropriate action on retiring Constable Delton Threshton's weapon per Government Code 614.051, purchase of a firearm by an honorably retired police officer. An honorable
I don't know.
Delton
Devers is
Threshton.
not here. I don't know. Do you have a chance?
I don't know, sir. I don't know. I haven't canvassed the court yet.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get you confused with Dwayne. I apologize.
It's a good thing I'm not armed this morning,
Yeah.
sir. But thank you
Okay.
for the,
All right.
so I would ask the court to allow me the privilege of purchasing the weapon I carried for 6 years, issued to me by the county.
And I move that we allow Constable Threshton to purchase his service weapon for $1. I think that's a good, fair price.
It's a fair price.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion been made and second that Constable Threshton be allowed to purchase his service weapon for $1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Give the dollar to
Got
the
it.
treasurer.
You're good to go.
Treasurer, get his
Hey.
dollar.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, the next item is item number 6, and it says, consider setting the hearing date for consideration of the Emergency Services District petition on February the 9th, 2021 Commissioners Court agenda. So what we're doing is just setting the date for February the 9th, 2021 for the Emergency Service District petition, and then the court will vote at that time. The full court will vote whether or not we're going to set it for the election. So do I hear a motion?
Before we do that, I'm not going to be so agreeable on this one. Sorry, Judge. Once again, I object to doing this today, and I'm going to lay out the following reasons. I've looked at this petition, which is it's in the form that's statutory, but there's 23 pages of signatures attached to this petition, and I doubt if the judge had time to look at this because this was turned into us right before the holidays, and we really have not had a chance to take a look at this with a scrutinizing eye. But 23 pages of signatures were handed in accompanying this petition, and out of the 23 pages of signatures, there were 133 signatures. Now, I didn't have a chance to go through and verify all the signatures, but I will tell you that the statute, and the reason I'm getting way into the weeds in this is a very important issue. This could feasibly raise taxes by 20%. So I think people need to look at this very carefully. But on this petition, according to Health and Safety Code, Chapter 775.011, subsection A, before a district located wholly in one county may be created, the county judge of the county, which, of course, Judge Massengill, must receive a petition signed by at least 100 qualified voters who own taxable property in the proposed district. So there's two components to this petition. And what's given me cause for concern is I looked at the first 3 pages out of the 23. Out of the first 3 pages, I counted 17 signatures. I checked with the Hood County Appraisal District on each one of those 17 signatures with attendant addresses, and noted that out of the 17, 7 of those signatures are not in those names are not associated with that address as far as the appraisal district is concerned. Now, that's a 40% error rate just in 3 pages. Now, we're talking about an item to be placed on a ballot at a later time, either a May ballot or a November ballot. But I think that we should start out with a correct, valid petition. And again, as an emergency services district, if voted in, will raise your property taxes about 20 to 25%. We're currently at 42 cents roughly, and it's an automatic 10 cents pop right on there, and you do the math on that. I believe that we are being put in a position to advance a petition to explore an ESD, and if we're doing that, we need to make sure that from the start of this process, it is done by the book. I didn't have time to verify all 23 pages, and I doubt if anybody had time to do that before the holidays. You know, when you walk in right before Christmas, everybody's busy, and you take the petition at face value, and it goes to the county clerk. But my contention here right now is if the first 3 pages have a 40% error rate, if you carry the math out for the rest of those pages, there may not be 100 valid signatures. And I didn't even look whether they were qualified voters, because if they could be, a qualified voter could be just about anybody as far as age is concerned. But some of these people may reside in another county and be registered to vote in another county and still own that house. They wouldn't be a qualified voter for purposes of this district. So I think that the judge is supposed to make sure it's in proper form before it goes to the county clerk, and he didn't have time to check all these signatures. I took I took license to at least look at the first 3 pages, and I'm going to argue that the petition as it sits is not in proper form, and I think that we need to table this until the next court and give time to check all the other signatures to make sure they turned in 100 valid signatures. And so I don't see any reason why not. I don't see any exigency in this matter. I don't see why we need to do this right this minute. So with all that said, I would like to put a motion to table this. I know there's going to want to be some more discussion possibly, but I want to put a motion. That's my word, who was the beautiful day? And that's my Mr. Rogers' word of the day to table it. But I think we should, I think we should consider tabling this, and I'm going to make a motion that we table this till the next court and verify the rest of the signatures.
Judge, just before we get to that, explain to me, I don't know. You said our tax rate's 43. Wouldn't it only raise the taxes within the people that are in the ESD, do you think? Or is that right?
That's another issue that we need to understand. I don't understand that totally.
Okay.
I don't either.
Let me say one thing. As the county judge, I received this petition that was stamped and raised right before Christmas, and we do have common ground, all 3 of us, on this deal here. And it was stamped December the 21st. I think I got it in the afternoon, of course, right at Christmas time up there. The way the law reads, and I talked to Matt, and I've had lots of discussions. Come on up, Matt, about this. I was saying, do I have to file this? It looked like when I read the law that I had no option. It didn't say that I had the right to check all the signatures or whatever, but when I got a petition that presumed to have over the 100 signatures, I had to file it with the county clerk's office. And then you and I talked about it, that I did file it, and then should we put it on here and to set a date, and we said that it would be so that it could appear on a ballot, and you and I talked about this thing. The big thing that I said is that, boy, we're going to have a lot of workshops on this item right here, a lot of workshops. So the questions that Commissioner Cotton and Commissioner Eagle have brought up, I've got all those same questions up here. How is it going to affect the tax breaks? Who's going to be? There is a lot to be determined and a lot of stuff, and that's where we're going to be able to thrash it out in workshops. And Matt and I discussed, Mr. Mills and I discussed those workshops, didn't we, Mr. Mills?
We talked about all that, yes. Do you want me to get further into kind of the timelines and all that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so.
I'd like to hear about the signatures. If we verify, I agree with our commissioner. Did we verify all the signatures that they really are valid? And do we have to do that before we do anything else?
Well, just now is the first I had heard about the signatures might not be in order. That might be a good assignment for the elections department or somebody like that to just really go through the entire thing. But on the face of it, it looked like a valid petition. And so if you take a valid petition and the judge receives it, the code says you file that with the county clerk and you set it on the next commissioner's court agenda, not to approve anything, but just to set the hearing date. So if you approve it today, you're simply setting a hearing date for a month from now when you can still vote it up or down just to have the election, and then the election would still have to be approved and so on before you have the ESD. The reason that they were trying to do it under this timeline, of course, is, and I haven't verified this in the election code, but he said that if it's not done by the February 12th cutoff, it can't be on the May election date. There's two uniform election dates, May, November, and they would miss the May, they'd be in November, which means they miss the fiscal year, and then they'd be basically a full year out because the fiscal year would start in the fall of this year. So anyway, that was why they were trying to get it on for February the 9th. So I would think we can just set the hearing date for the 9th. We can have the workshops, and we can verify whether the petitions are in order. And that there's also a thing in the code where you have to put notice in the newspaper 21 days out. The first notice has to be at least 21 days out. So the 16th, the Hood County News that runs on the 16th, it could run there, and then on the 23rd, and then you've kind of checked off all the original boxes for just having the hearing. And if let's say that the signatures are not in order, or there's not enough valid signatures, you could, I would think, blow it up on the 9th just for lack of form, or lack of, but I mean, my thought would be just go ahead and set the thing now, and you can always blow it up later. But if let's just say the opposite is true. I mean, let's say that you reject having the hearing, you vote this agenda down, they could come back and say, well, wait a minute, we filed our petition, and the law says you're supposed to set the hearing, and you didn't set the hearing. Well, now we're in a pickle with them. It would be my concern. I think the safer route, honestly, is just set the hearing for the 9th, and then you can always vote it down on the 9th or sometime in between, would be my thought. I don't know.
Yeah, we could have a couple of workshops between now and the 9th.
Right.
To have the signatures verified or not, and if they're not, it would pull off. Sharon, why are you shaking your heads like that? I'm just trying so hard to please you about it.
Because now we're going to have workshops that we're going to pay people to do, and we don't know if the signatures are verified. I mean, I would think you need to verify the signatures.
See, that's my same thing. When I got the thing, I just read my duty, and it looks like the county attorney said, it looks like it's informed.
I had that today, but before you go forward with a lot of workshops is my issue, and pay people that are going to be doing the workshops, I'm sure is going to be county employees, to sit in these workshops, and then you count it down because you don't have enough valid signatures, then there's a waste of time and money before you know if you have valid signatures. I would think you would go ahead and put people to work to verify the signatures, which, shouldn't take but maybe a few days, and then you can go forward with your workshops.
But, see, that makes logical sense, except for the timelines that Mr. Mills was talking about.
And that's fine. I don't have a problem with the timeline that Mr. Mills was talking about. I'm talking about going forward with workshops.
Okay.
Could I address Mr. Mills? Could I address what?
Yeah, please do.
If you can convince Mr. Mills of that, I really, come on up here.
Well, this a town hall meeting or what?
Well,
I'm sorry, but I don't have anything against you setting the date to look at this. But to put workshops in place where it takes county money, it takes county employees, then I would think you would want to validate these.
Okay. Now I follow you. The very first step, and I think Mr. Mills has made an excellent suggestion, is to give it to the elections administrator, let her check all the signatures to
Right.
make sure that they qualify.
And that's
Before
great.
we start the.
But you said, why don't we go ahead and put our workshops together and start on
No,
this?
I'm just saying that's what we're going to do before we vote on whether or
Okay,
not.
then I misunderstood and I'll step down, but that was my issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to point out that this broker, you didn't let me talk. I agree with Sharon.
I know it.
Everything she said. But you didn't let me have a discussion, but you let.
See, Sharon, see?
That's what you get for being a nice guy.
That's what I do for trying to be a nice guy up here, and you're right. So here's what we're going to have to do from now on. We're going to have up here public participation forms, and if you're a member of the public, and if you want to speak on any agenda item, you're going to have to fill out the public participation form, hand it to the sheriff will hand it to the county clerk, she will make a list of them and then assign a number and hand them to me. Then when we get to the proper agenda item, I will call you and let you done. And you're right, if we're going to be fair, it has to be fair for everybody. I was just, poor Sharon here I thought she was having a stroke here, and I just wanted to help her out here. I knew she had something important to say.
My points were just as valid on the other topic, but you didn't let me say them.
Okay. Well, I give you my word from
Never
now on
done
that
that,
if a public citizen hasn't filled out one of these public participation forms, they will not be able to speak on an agenda. That's just the way we're going to have to conduct it. Okay?
Judge, I'll make a suggestion. I don't want to get into your business, but seeing as how we did maybe violate with having her speak, let the lady speak this time, because we did, it's not fair, I mean, for this time, but we need to get it straight.
You want to speak on this one, or do you want to speak on?
Prior, I just had a couple of
Sure.
comments that I wouldn't have known that I wanted to speak except listening to the discussion. So my name's Nanette Samuelson. I'm in Precinct 2.
Well, yeah, just go ahead and speak it.
Yeah, my name's Nanette Samuelson. I'm in Precinct 2. And just listening to the discussion about the mobile unit, it just occurred to me that if it was necessary, then it would have been put in the budget. It didn't seem like a necessary purchase. It seemed like more of an emotional purchase that we got to do this. And so the CARES money is going to go to this purchase, which wasn't in the budget, which is an emotional kind of, we got to do it now, instead of going to the small businesses that the CARES money was meant for. So the small businesses are not going to get the money because it's going to go to this purchase that wasn't in the budget that seems like an opportunistic thing. And so, and then your comment, Commissioner Cotton, about, so they sue us. So what happens?
My comment was, if we were afraid of being sued, we'd never get anything done in the county. Don't put words in my mouth, that's what I said.
Well, you said, so if we get sued, we get sued. Okay, then who pays for that? If we get sued, if the county gets sued, the taxpayers pay for the defense. So we are out the money anyway.
May I say something? May I address your question about where we're paying for this from? We have a capital projects fund, and that is used for anything that comes up during the year. A lot of it is budgeted. We sit down and we have budget workshops on what equipment does the county need, but things come up. So there is sufficient money in a different fund for this. Had they come up here and said, we want this, we don't know where the money's coming from, I know exactly where the money would have come from.
Okay,
So
I spent 35 years in business and doing capital projects, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
But you still have to have a justification, a cost-benefit analysis, and a bidding process to go by.
Well, we would have gone by a bidding process. These two lovely people here worked night and day and could not find one to bid with. They did their due diligence.
Well,
all I'm saying is everyone here has done everything they can, and there is another mechanism, or another way to pay for that. And also, with the CARES money, they gave a lot of money to small businesses. I don't know if you were aware
Oh,
of
I
that.
did. I looked at the budget. I saw that there was about half of it spent in 2020 and another half that was set aside with not a destination, which I assumed would go to small businesses since they're the ones that were so impacted by the shutdown. So thank you, again, thank you very much for letting me come up and talk after it was already voted on. Appreciate it. Next time sometimes we don't know until we hear the discussion that we have a comment, so.
Err on the side of caution. If it's something that looks like it's contentious, just put it down. You don't have to speak if it comes up, so.
So if I may, Judge, I'm reading, if you read, and I'm not saying I disagree with our County Attorney Mills on this reading, but I think it's a little bit vague. And if you look at Health and Safety Code 775.015, it says, filing a petition and notice, subsection A, if the petition is in proper form, the county judge may receive the petition and shall file it with the county clerk. And so my question is the signature, if you don't get a petition with 100 valid signatures, is it in proper form? We're not going to answer that today, because on its face, like Mr. Mills said, there were more than 100 signatures on its face. But I guess my point is really, when the statute preceding this one I just read says at least 100 qualified voters who own taxable property in the district must sign the petition, how do you know that if you don't look at them? And so, otherwise, you're getting an improperly filed petition that means nothing. And it shouldn't go, the process should stop right then and there. So that's my argument, and I know y'all just want to set it for a hearing, but I don't even think we should do that yet. But again, I think y'all can talk about it some more, but I've still got a motion to table it.
You're doing this out of meanness.
What an emergency services district is, I don't understand the whole petition, and I don't imagine most of the people here don't either.
Well, that's why when they said the county judge shall file, that doesn't mean may file. That means I don't have a choice to it, and that's what I had to do. That's why.
Judge, her question is, I'm sorry to interrupt you, her question is, what is an ESD? Why don't you explain that, Commissioner Eagle? I think that's her question. What's an ESD?
Well, if you go ask every fire marshal in this county, you're going to get different versions of what it should be, what it might be. This one particular, the way the petition is filed, is for fire only. You can do an ESD for fire and EMS. You can do it for EMS only and not fire. So there's different iterations of it, and it kind of depends on who you ask. It's kind of like calling the IRS. If you call 5 different times with the same question, you'll probably get 5 different answers. So that's a long-winded way of saying it's going to take too much time to even try to get into it, but I think people need to understand what it is. And I'm not trying to dodge your question, but it's a long answer that you might start with some fire marshals here, like Matt Hohan with the city. You're close to the city, right? And check, see what they say it is. And you've got a city councilman back here in the back, Mr. Corrigan. He's familiar with them to some extent. So there's people that know more than I do about them. I'm just looking at the procedure for even putting it on a ballot. That's where I'm at right this minute. And I'm just saying that I don't think we have a valid petition to even set for a hearing yet. And I will say, this is one, while I've got you here, so they bring this in on December the 21st, right before Christmas, and then they're putting us in a position they want to rush it through to get something done by February the 12th. And that's, to me, that's not very good thinking on their side of it if they're really serious about putting this in. I don't see what the problem is if we don't make the deadline and it just goes on a November ballot. What's the problem? Except they're not going to get to tax you guys as quick if it gets voted in. Anyway, I really didn't answer your question, but if you want to talk to me after this, I'll be happy to sit down with you.
Matt, Mr. Mills and I were talking about, like, what are their damages if we didn't at least set it for the hearing? That's all we would be doing today, is set it for a hearing and for February the 9th. Then the full court would be hearing it on the 9th. Now, Sharon, between now and then, the signatures will be vetted by the elections administrator or whomever, and I think that's where it should be, to see whether or not they qualify, okay? If they don't qualify, of course, they don't have a valid petition. All right, if they do qualify, then the full commission is still going to have to decide whether we're going to allow that or not allow it. I think what Mr. Mills and I were concerned about is what are their damages, or what could be their damages if we didn't follow the lines. And I agree with Mr. Eagle on this thing. Why didn't you bring it to us the first part of December? Or this idea about an emergency service district has been brought up for years, hadn't it, Sheriff? I'm sorry? About 20 years. And it's a district where instead of having volunteer fire department, for example, that's what this is, volunteer, you're going to have a paid fire department. And you've got real complications because the county, Hood County, owns a lot or most of the fire equipment in these districts. So it gets very, very complicated. But I agreed with Mr. Mills that it's probably safer to just go ahead and set it. That's all we're doing is setting the hearing. We have time enough to investigate it between now and February the 9th to see if it's a valid signatures, and if it's not a valid petition. And also, if it is valid, to have workshops so that the commissioners and all the concerned citizens will be able to ask all the questions, find out about the tax rate. It's immediate 10%. So we have right now 0.423, right? So immediately if you direct it, taxes would go up to 0.523. So it's a significant situation that all citizens really need to be informed about before you vote. So I still kind of agree with Mr. Mills that, you know, we probably should go ahead and vote to set it for February the 9th, because we still got a lot of opportunity. They got a lot of hurdles to jump before anything's going to happen, okay? So I think we're safer by doing that. Do you agree with that, Mr. Mills?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner Eagle, I agree with you. I mean, I agree with you on this totally, but I'm a little
Remember this.
I do agree, but I'm a little afraid of getting the judge in trouble if he was supposed to do what he did. That's not a very good sentence.
No, that is.
You know,
that makes sense.
But you know what?
I did what I was supposed
if he's
to do,
doing
and they're gonna
something,
get me in trouble.
if he does something illegal and does not put this, and well, he's put it on the agenda, but we don't have to pass it. It's a legal issue, and I agree with you that
Well, I'll visit the judge. If he gets thrown in jail, I'll go visit you.
I appreciate
I want to make sure.
I'd really appreciate that. Would anybody else like to visit me in the jail? Thank you.
So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I have to listen to my attorney that tells me if I don't welcome lawsuits. Somebody thought I do, but I don't. What I want to do is try to stay away from lawsuits. But I want to get this done the right way is all I'm looking for.
So if we just vote to set it for the February the 9th, if that's all we do, we still get a chance to check all the signatures. If they're not valid, they don't have a valid petition. And if they are valid, between now and February the 9th, we're going to have a bunch of workshops, so all of us are going to be really educated on how it's going to affect your pocketbook and how it's going to affect your safety with the fires. And we're going to have people like, our volunteer fire department in Hood County is really second to none. I mean, it's really great. So we have a lot to talk about. So, Dave, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about, you just brought something up that this is dangerous. But this might make everybody happy here, except the people that filed the petition. if we have a duty to set it for hearing, let's use that as a default. I'll go along with Mr. Mills on that. Why don't we set it, February 9th is only 3-4 weeks out of here. We're not going to have time, people are not going to have time to look at what's going on because or thoroughly research what an ESD is. A lot of us in the county have, and it's more confusing than not, but I'm starting to get my hands around it. But you are looking at a significant tax that will be put on to you, and such an important item. Why don't we set it for hearing 2 more weeks out? I just don't see, they're the ones that want the May, ballot. I don't see any problem with putting it on a November ballot. So I would make a motion to set a hearing date for the consideration of the ESD petition for February the 23rd.
That's what Mr. Mills and I were talking about. We talked about having more time to do more investigation. And I think it was my suggestion to do exactly what he said. And that's when you came out then, Mr. Mills, and said that will not be able to put it on the May ballot. And I said, well, they get to put it on the November ballot. What I'm worried about is, I wouldn't know how to compute damages on a lawsuit. What are your damages if you don't put it on May and you're going to have to wait until November? That's my concern. That's my only concern about it.
Okay, so if we're going to get that far into it, let's just talk about it. 775.015, you receive a proper petition, you shall give it to the county clerk, and we will, at the next regular or special session of Commissioners Court, the Commissioners Court shall set a place, date, and time for the hearing to consider the petition. Doesn't say you got to make a May ballot. It says we shall set a place, date, and time for the hearing to consider the petition. So I don't think there's any, we're not obligated to, because they want it on a May ballot, we're not obligated to do that. I don't see anything in here which obligates us to do that. So in my opinion, I think we stay with where we're at. If it somehow gets on the May ballot, so what? So good for that. But I think we should give it some more time to let people understand, the taxpayers, understand what is being considered here before it ever gets to a ballot. And I think the judge had the right idea to begin with. You were right on board with that.
Definitely, it's a very complicated, far-reaching decision that has to be made by voters, and you bet. You've got to be fully informed before you can make an intelligent vote, and I was all for that. It's just after talking, I hate to do this to you, Matt, because you've been doing such a good job for the county and getting opinions all the time. We work so good together, but I mean, I was just afraid about that. I agree with Commissioner Eagle. It doesn't say by a certain number of days or whatever, but I don't know. Do you think we're safe in doing that?
I thought it just said you had to put it in the paper for 21 days and give them 21 days notice of this hearing.
That's there's some notices for the local paper.
Yeah.
And then there's a notice for just the posting at the courthouse for that you're going to have this on the agenda. But as Commissioner Eagle said, I don't think February 9th has to be the hearing date. I mean, the shall language is, it shall be on the Commissioners Court agenda after the judge files it with the clerk. So here we are, we're on the agenda to set the hearing. So we've complied with that. We're on the first Commissioners Court meeting after the judge filed the thing with the clerk. But yeah, I mean, if you want to set it for February, the last one, you can set it in March. I mean, you could do whatever. I just floated, I mean, we were in a time crunch to even get it on the agenda here, and so I wrote the agenda item for Beth at her kind of behest. And I said, well, February 9th, if that gives y'all enough time to discuss it and have workshops and stuff and know what you're doing, then it would still meet the deadline that the petitioners are wanting in the first place. And you still, of course, can say, hey, this is a lousy idea. I'm not going to even vote to put it. And you don't have to put it on the ballot, period. I mean, there's some language in there where if you feel like it goes against the interests of the county, you don't have to grant them the election. So, I don't know. I mean, y'all can do whatever you want. I mean, I guess the question is, do you feel like you can be ready to vote on February the 9th or not?
And that's why my motion's for the next Commissioners Court. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Okay, well, that's your call, but at least we've complied by having it here on the agenda today to have the hearing date in the future.
I had to file it.
Right.
We had to put it up here, and now we're going to have to set it, so I wanted more time as well as y'all did on the thing, so if your motion is that we to consider to set it on February what, 26th?
23rd.
23rd.
Judge, we have somebody just to come into the courthouse that would like to speak on this issue. That's what I heard. Is that right? Do you understand what's going on in Miss Elections Committee?
I do.
Help us out.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Carew, your elections administrator. I've been listening from my office and following what I could. One of the things that does concern me about the actual petition itself is, although it says it's to be filed with the county clerks, it should have been filed in my office so that my office would have the time to verify the signatures on the petition, and that wasn't done. Now, with that being said, it doesn't take away from the fact that it was filed. I mean, the date on there is there and it's there to stay, but it should have been at least forwarded to my office so that we could at least do our part to continue to make this happen.
Well, you could still look at, verify
Absolutely.
the signatures.
Absolutely.
How long do you think it'd take for you to verify 123 signatures?
33. 133.
130 signatures.
One day, maybe a
One
day and
day?
a half.
Okay. Okay. Well, it said county clerk. It didn't say county clerk
Right.
and/or election
Well,
clerk.
in the election law, whenever you're looking at it, when you have an elections administrator and the county clerk is mentioned, it usually means elections administrator. They just never updated it in the code to say
Okay.
that.
Okay.
So when
Well,
it's
now we know.
referenced, right.
Now we know. Okay, well, we definitely want you to look at the names and verify that. Okay,
I can do that.
okay. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, so your motion is to set the hearing date for February the 23rd of 2021 concerning the Emergency Service District?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of setting the hearing date for the consideration of the Emergency Service District petition on February the 23rd, 2021, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Look at that, 3-0. Common ground, okay. All right. This brings us to the last item. Discuss and take appropriate action for the court to award a primary vendor and a first alternate vendor for RFB 2020-007, which is County Fleet Maintenance and Repair Service, the illustrious Chief Deputy Steve Smith in charge of fleet service. Yes, sir.
Sticking with today's theme, I would like this tabled. Just saying.
That's the new word for that.
Glenn sent me yesterday just a recap of the 3 qualified vendor bids that we get. They're all over the place. When we talk about the cost for parts percentage markup and the hourly rate and everything, they're kind of all over the place. I know nothing about any of these 3 vendors personally. I would like the opportunity to go visit with these vendors, look at their facilities, make sure their mechanics are ASE certified, their turnaround rate on their routine maintenance, such as oil changes, tire fixes, and stuff like that. I would like to make sure that they're able to keep up with the county's fleet and us not get in the situation that we're currently in. So I'd like the opportunity to go visit with these vendors, not about their bids or what they bid, but about their facilities and what they have to offer before we make a decision on this.
I like that. We don't have any restriction to go through with this right now, are we?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
And we've talked about this among our new purchasing agent, Mr. Glenn Tillman, with Debbie and with Becky, in my office yesterday that we have a procedure in line that the squad cars could be maintained in this period to find, and all of us were in agreement that we do need to know more about these people that put in the bids and what they can and cannot do. So I'm really for tabling this to give Chief Smith an opportunity to go out and really see what these people can do. Because it varies an hour from $44 an hour to $100 an hour, and I just think that we need to table this. And I move that we table it until the next.
I agree that, the sheriff's office has got the biggest fleet, and they're probably ones that are going to be more liable to not getting service the way you want it. So I agree with that, and I'll second it.
All right, motion been made and second to table the fleet service contract to give Chief Smith an opportunity to do it to the next Commissioners Court. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Chief.